Hey everybody, Ben Nelson here, the Everyday Real Estate Investor. Thanks for tuning in again to another episode of the podcast. Really appreciate you guys and the support. And again, just getting the message out and being an encouragement and trying to get people to remember that, this doesn't have to be a full-time game if you don't want it to. There's all sorts of ways that you can go about this business, but to not use the time or lack of being able to get away from other things like your W-2 job, your professional career, maybe busy with family, all of that stuff. We all have lots of things going on, but we can still be involved in real estate investing, and being full-time is a great goal, but it's not everybody's goal. So how do we figure out how to, and even if it is, how do you figure out how to incorporate within your real estate investing? And that looks a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. Again, it can be another job or professional career that you maybe don't even want to get rid of. You want to be able to just do real estate investing alongside of that. But whatever that looks like for you, you have to figure that out. But there's no excuse to not be involved in real estate, and that's what this is all about. It's just encouraging you to not use those things as reasons to not get in, but to figure out a way to do that and incorporate it in your life in whatever way that works for you. So today we are going to talk about investor mindset, because it's really, really important to have the right mindset when you're investing in real estate. There's a lot of hurdles, there's a lot of things you can come across. There's a lot of messages, a lot of content out there, but it can get really confusing and it can be overwhelming, and it's just a different mindset overall than what we're taught in formal education. Or most formal education just doesn't teach us the things that we need to know to be in the real world and to be involved as an investor and an entrepreneur, and just the things to set us up for that. You learn the book knowledge, you learn how to do your math, and you learn your basics of your science and all your things like that, but a lot of the mindset stuff is just not there in education. So it's super important, and so we're going to jump right into it and talk a little bit about mindset today. So first thing that I want to touch on is the idea of exchanging your time for the right thing. So most people, if you work a job, you exchange your time for some sort of wage, right? It's like my hour is worth this much money. And you really have to change your mindset as a real estate investor and as an entrepreneur and really think about it more in the sense of returns, right? So you're after returns, but it's not necessarily delineated, or it shouldn't be delineated in hours worked, because you don't want that to limit you, right? It's a very limiting to, even people that get paid a high amount per hour, you're still limited by the amount of time in the day, right? So when you start to step outside of that, not only do you open up, so the first thing is it opens up the ceiling of possibility, right? Because now you're not limited by the hours of the day, you're just limited by the opportunity that you can find and the value that you can produce. And it's a total game changer, because now you have that switch that goes off in your mind where it's like, I could make six figures in doing real estate in less time than I'm working in my hourly job. And I'm just picking a number, right? So, but the point is that you aren't limited by that hourly wage and the number of hours in a day. The other thing is that really, Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book, The Cash Flow Quadrant, which if you haven't read that book, and if you don't know who Robert Kiyosaki is, you need to start there. You need to know who that is. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I wrote lots of books, #1 financial author in history. And so definitely great stuff to read. And his book, Cash Flow Quadrant, which I think was his second one that he wrote a long time ago, he breaks down like the 4 different ideas of how people earn income, right? So you've got there's the E, the S, the B, and the I are the quadrants. So the E is employee, S is small business owner, which is basically someone, you run your own business, you're still working for a wage. A big business owner is B, and so you're basically running the business, or you own the business, but you're not like day-to-day managing the business like a small business owner. And then I is investor, which is basically you are going out and using your money to create returns on your money, and your money is working for you. So that's the crux of it. And obviously in the book, he gets into a lot more details. I encourage you to pick that up if you have not read that. But that's what we want to get down to is, again, not that a W-2 job is a bad thing, and that not saying you have to leave your professional career if you like it. Technically, I'm a real estate agent, so I am self-employed in that portion of my business. I have to go out and create, and I eat what I kill, for lack of a better term, right? I have to create income off of my efforts, and so I get compensated for that. But we really want to think of our investing as the investor side, and there's a lot of reasons behind that. Again, it gets into that in the book. tax benefits, all those things, but it's really a mindset thing first and foremost, and just thinking of it differently and having your money create income for you. So flipping, wholesaling, all those things are great. They're a great way for people to get started. They're not really investing. They're creating a job for yourself. You're putting yourself in the S quadrant and being self-employed, right? And you can make a lot of money in that, but you're not investing. You're creating a business for yourself. And so kind of removing yourself from that mindset of hourly rate or salary or security, quote, and shifting over to an investor and investing for returns and investing for your money to come back to you with more. And it's not a bad place to start with flipping and wholesaling. If that's what you enjoy too, it's not necessarily like you don't have to replace that either, but to use that to then turn around and invest it instead of just keeping it as earned income. That's the goal. So I spent a little bit longer on that one than I planned on, but I think that's a super important one, is just your mindset around how you are viewing exchanging your time and what actually is investing versus a job, essentially. Next one is have a long-term perspective. There are so many things out there that make it sound like real estate is this get rich quick, get rich easy. I don't want to say scheme, but they kind of pitch it that way, where it's like, oh yeah, you just do this and this, and then you make $100,000. I'm not saying people haven't done that, but it's like anything. You hear about the people that win the lottery, right? Well, the reason why or the people that do this big public offering and they make millions and millions of dollars or billions of dollars on this public offering. Well, yeah, you hear about it because it's rare, right? So if someone is pitching that to you as the norm, that you go out and in 30 days you make $100,000 or whatever. I mean, I see stuff like that all the time. They're selling you something. I'm just going to leave it at that. But you have to have a long-term perspective for a number of reasons. And the first and foremost is just expectations, right? So if you're expecting this to replace your income in a very, very short amount of time, again, I'm not saying people haven't done it. I'm just saying the majority have not. So it's a long-term approach. It's that you're doing it over time, and you have to have that patience. And if you don't know that going into it, then you are going to be disappointed. You're going to get discouraged, and you're probably going to give up. So going into it with the right expectations, the right perspective is super important. And again, if you're thinking about short-term income, if you're, I'm going to go out and create, I'm going to go flip a bunch of properties and make money. That's great. Okay. But let's go back to the first one and remember that that's not the ultimate goal. That's not really investing. You're just replacing your job with another job, and you're not actually doing what the goal in investing is, which is to replace your income. We talked about that, I think, on the last one. That's not everybody's goal, but I think it is a great goal to have, to replace your income, remove your income as a hurdle in your life so that you can go out and spend more time doing what you're calling your purpose is. Real estate doesn't have to be your love. It doesn't have to be what you really enjoy doing. It can just be a means to an end. It can be a means to creating the passive income that you want so that you can do your passion, right? So that's a little tangent, but just you're thinking of it with those short term, like I can go out and create this, and then you're just replacing your job. That's all you're doing. You're not really investing. Excuse me. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's the next one. Wow. Okay. If you haven't listened to my podcast, I think it was a couple months ago now, on mistakes made and lessons, go back and listen to that. I think all of the mistakes in there were my own mistakes that I made. I probably threw some others in there I can't remember, but I know a big chunk of them were from my own experience and mistakes that I've made and what I learned from them. So the thing is, you can't be afraid to make mistakes, because if you're afraid to make mistakes, then you're not going to do anything. Because the fact is that you are going to make mistakes when you go out and you do something that you've never done before. How are you not going to make mistakes? People don't know how to do things until they do them. So, think of athletes or anything, a job, anything. You don't know how to do it until you do it. So if you're afraid of making mistakes, you're never going to do it, because you are going to make mistakes. I don't say it all the time, but I think it's very fitting that everything worth doing well is worth sucking at first. Okay, so because you're not probably going to be good at it. Yeah, there's talent and people have abilities and things like that, but you're not going to be great at something the first time you do it. And there's ways to hedge against that, and you definitely want to hedge against mistakes. Educate yourself, listen to podcasts like this, read, talk to other investors, have a great team. All of those things to make sure that you are putting yourself in a position where to make the least amount of mistakes as you can. And if you make mistakes, to make the smallest mistakes that you can. But you are going to make mistakes. So just get over it. Just get over it and get out there and take action. And if you're so afraid of making mistakes, you're never going to take that action. And mistakes are life's great opportunity to learn. If you take the time after you make the mistake to debrief and figure out what went wrong, what could you do differently next time, and learn the lesson so you don't make that mistake again, right? So lots of people make mistakes. They don't get the lesson because they don't take the time to do that. So that's a key part of getting the lesson is sitting down and figuring that out and actually, debriefing and figuring out what to not do next time, right? And the other thing is most seasoned investors, I would say I don't know. There's probably always an exception to everything, so that's why I use the word most. But most seasoned investors have made mistakes, and they've made many of them. Some of them have made very large mistakes, but it doesn't mean they're not successful investors. It just means they've been around doing it a long time, and so you're bound to make a misstep or see something incorrectly and make a bad decision. It doesn't mean you're a bad investor. It just means you messed up, right? And now, don't do that next time, right? And I'm telling you, if someone's telling you that they have never made a mistake in real estate investing, they're lying directly to your face, or they are not experienced enough to have made a mistake because they haven't been around or doing it long enough. So either one of those is a huge red flag. I guess the third thing could be they're just so egotistical that they're not willing to admit that they have made mistakes, and I would count that as a red flag as well. So that's one of the questions I always ask, if you haven't noticed, when I interview somebody, is tell us about a mistake you made and what'd you learn, because we all have made mistakes, and we can all learn from our own mistakes, but let's learn from each other's mistakes as well. So that's why I always ask that question. Number one is to see how they answer the question, right? Number two is because I want everybody else listening to gain that same lesson without having to go through that mistake, right? Okay, next one, be a student and a lifelong learner. You have to have a mindset of a student, not just in real estate, but in life. We're never going to know everything. We're never going to know all there is to know about real estate or about anything else. There's just too much to know. And things are changing all the time, and markets are shifting, and there's just so much going on that there's no way you could get caught up on everything, and then which you never would anyway, and then it's all changed. So you have to have the mindset of a learner. And it's more than just knowing that you'll never know. It's more than just the fact that there's so much to know, you're never going to know it all. It's really the attitude behind it, I think, more than anything, is just that that you're humble enough to admit, like, hey, there's so much going on here. I know a lot maybe, but I don't know everything. And so that's where you have to rely on a team, and you can't do that if you feel like you should know it all, or you do know it all. And if you wait until you know enough, right? So it's the balance. You wait until you know enough, quote unquote. You're never going to take action because you're never going to know enough. Experience is the best teacher, and that's how you're going to really learn and take the next steps. So, but have that student and lifelong learner mindset. Guys like Robert Kiyosaki, who I mentioned earlier, are out there teaching, but they're also always putting themselves in an environment to be a student and to learn as well, because they know that there's so much. Even though they know a bunch and they have a lot of life experience and a lot of investing experience, they know that they can still learn more and improve themselves and be better. So that is a huge one. Every day is an opportunity to learn. So just approach it that way. This is a big one for me. So abundance versus scarcity. You have to have an abundance mindset. A scarcity mindset is centered around fear and around selfishness, and around that if I don't go get it and take it from somebody else, then they're going to get it, and now I'm not going to have anything. There's so much opportunity out there, number one, that if you're afraid that you're going to miss out and someone else is going to get, you might miss out on a deal because someone else got it. That happens. But there's more deals. Go find more deals. There's deals out there if you keep looking and keep at it. So you can't just, and the aura or the people can sense when you have that attitude, and when you feel that way, it just comes out. They know they can feel like, oh, this person just has this sense that they have this attitude about them, and you may not even say, like, it'll come out in your words, but in your attitude and all that stuff, and they'll know, and you're going to lose out on deals that way too if you're thinking like in that way. So this is a relationship and team business, right? So you have to include others. You're already by default in real estate including others. That almost in itself says like you have to have an abundance mindset because we're helping each other, right? The title company gets business because I do stuff and they're sending me, we all work together and we're helping each other, right? So, and then from there, building, if you're wanting to build bigger and do larger deals or do deals that do more deals than what you're personally capable of doing with your own assets and resources, you can't do that without an abundance mindset. You're not even going to think to do that because you're going to be always looking at it from what can I do on my own. And it's never going to cross your mind about joint venturing with somebody or syndicating or bringing someone else along with you in some fashion to do a bigger deal that you won't be able to do or to do more deals than you could do on your own. So you're missing out on opportunity because you're just trying to keep all to yourself and you can't talk to anybody else because they might take your deal or whatever, or you don't want to give up a piece of the pie, right? You want to keep the whole pie to yourself. So, and I always say having a piece of a bigger pie or any pie is better than having all of no pie, right? So, if you're not doing a deal or if you have to pass on something because, well, I can't do it all on my own, well, why would you do that when you can bring along a friend, joint venture with it or go raise capital to do it or something like that? Yeah, okay, so you get a smaller piece, but who cares? You got a piece and you weren't going to be able to do it anyway. So you have to have and I'll tell you, I struggled with that personally. A long time ago, I finally figured out that that's not the right mindset to have. But I did. I went through that whole if I can't do it on my own and get the whole thing, I don't want to do it. And I would have missed out on a lot of deals if I continued that mindset. So that's a huge one to me. Last one. Oh, this is huge. Okay, this is a big one, especially with some of the stuff that we keep getting fed out there in the media. And yeah, I'm throwing the media under the bus. So don't be a victim. Don't be a victim. There's so much negativity out there and there's so many messages telling you that someone else is trying to keep you down. And I know I'm going to be sensitive to, the content and just not getting the specifics here. But I think as a general rule, there's, no matter who you are, there's always a message that is telling you that. And there's always, outside of what the media is putting out there, a lot of us have that kind of self-talk that is beating us down like, oh, you'll never be able to do this. So-and-so is better than you. That's why they're successful, but you'll never be that successful. You can't make this happen. You're too unorganized. You're too, you're not privileged enough. Weren't brought up in the right community, whatever the excuse. Okay. But I'll tell you, for every excuse you can come up with, I can tell you can find someone that has been in that situation and has found a way to be successful. So how come they could and you can't? That's my question. So don't be a victim. If as soon as you're a victim, you lose the power to make a decision to change your life because now you gave that decision to somebody else. And now it's up to them when really they're not even paying attention to your life, by the way. So now you've given power over to somebody else because you said it's their fault or it's this situation's fault or it's this circumstance's fault. You gave power to whatever that is to control your life. You said, I can't control it. I can't do this because of this. Well, now you're right because now you've already used that as an excuse. Now you're a victim. Now you can blame it all on that instead of blaming it on yourself. Yeah, I mean, that's really why we do that, right? We don't want to take responsibility for our own failures and for, us not being where we want to be. Well, you know what? Stop it because it doesn't change it. It doesn't change the fact that that's where you are. The only thing that can change that is if you realize that you don't have to be a victim, that whatever your excuse is a bunch of crap, and go out there and change it and make a different decision the next day. Okay. So sorry, I'm a little bit of my soapbox on that one, but I get pretty fired up about it because I just feel like so many people are just being fed a load of crap and that they're being kept down by the messages that they're being fed and by the messages that they're feeding themselves. And it needs to stop. And you need to stop listening to those things and you need to take control of your own mindset, the things that you're telling yourself, stop listening to that stuff, feed yourself positive messages, look at what other people are doing that are in your, and have done, that are in your situation and have been successful, and inspire yourself to become successful yourself, because you can do it. Okay, you can do it. Be a believer in yourself. Don't be a victim. We all have struggles, we all have hurdles, we all have different things that we're going through. And your struggles aren't the same as mine, and vice versa, right? So maybe I can't speak to your exact struggle and you can't speak to mine, but we all have them. So let's have that in common, that we all have struggles and things that we need to work through, but that we can all overcome them, and we can encourage each other to do that. So don't use them as excuses. Don't be a victim. Deal with them. Call it for what it is, and go out and make it happen, and turn that victim mentality into power and your ability to make your own decisions and move forward. So, okay, on that note, that's where I'm going to end it. I appreciate you guys listening. I'm looking forward to connecting with you guys. I'm not going to put a big pitch out there, but just 2 real quick notes. Actually 3. So on my YouTube channel, I do put out these podcasts, but I also put out some market updates and things like that. So check those out. There's a lot going on in the market right now. Definitely, I put my 2 cents out there on the market, more in that forum versus the podcast. This is more about mindset and strategy and things like that. So if you want market information and my take on that, YouTube is where to check that out. Again, I am a real estate broker. I am looking to build my team both locally and beyond. So here in the Portland metro area, definitely we have a lot going on. We're building on our multifamily and development space in the brokerage side. We have a lot of stuff going on, moving towards that, and then just our regular residential business. So if you're looking for a team to work with that are investors, involved in development, involved with builders, developers, looking at those kinds of opportunities, multifamily, and really scaling that up, I would love to chat with you. Let us know what you can bring to the table, and we'll see if you're for our team. But we're definitely looking to bring great people on. And again, translates over. We're a multinational company, so if you're in another market, that's fine. But if you just want to be connected to a great team with myself and some others, then let's chat about that. Last thing, what was the last thing? Probably was something, but the platform. I'm sorry, I haven't gotten it up yet. So I'm working on the platform, so we have a place online to connect, and there'll be some resources on there. I've got episode coming up that I think will be super helpful for a lot of people about tools for success, and there'll be some really highlighting some tools on there that are great, I think, to use and can shortcut some of your analysis and just to be able to use for marketing and things like that. And there'll be some discounts and things like that, and just having those resources all in one spot. So keep looking out for that. I probably won't get it launched by the end of this month, but by the end of August if it's not, you can call me out on it. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Again, appreciate you guys listening. Thanks so much. Reach out. Don't be a stranger. Don't just stay behind, the computer if you're watching on YouTube or wherever you're listening to the podcast. Connect, and let's figure out how we can encourage each other and continue to help each other in our real estate business. So thanks again for tuning in, and make it a great rest of the day.